everyone, and welcome to this revision tutorial on 7.1 of the IGCSE Economics syllabus 0455, I think. This will be on 7.1, developed and less developed economies. So first of all, we'll be covering the syllabus statements 1, 2, 3, and 4. The other 3 of population will be covered under 7.2, where I still have to make the video sometime, or if I'm not lazy and if I have spare time. Okay, so let me start it off with the stages of economic development. There are 3 different stages. There's the less developed economy, rapidly industrializing economy, and developed economy. So less developed economy has low level of human and economic development and diversification, low industrial development. A rapid industrializing economy has expanding manufacturing and services sectors, and a developed economy has high level of human and economic development, wide range of industries. And this is not it. There is much more, but I will demonstrate this on paint, as there is the chain effect sort of thing. So I'll start it off with saying about the infrastructure. So if there's, for infrastructure, the less developed is usually a lack of infrastructure. So you can add that point under here. I just don't want to bore you guys with some words, so hopefully this will be more interesting. Lack of infrastructure. A rapidly industrializing economy has a rapid development of modern infrastructure. It's kind of logical itself. And of course, a developed one will have well-developed roads, networks, power, and so on. So that, let me write that: roads, power, network, and so on. So that's infrastructure. For incomes, this one has low average income, and of course, the rapidly industrializing has rising incomes, and the developed ones has high average incomes. As you can spot the pattern, you can probably predict what's going to happen for education and skill. So for this one, low level of education and skill. For the rapidly industrializing, improving education and skill. And for the developed, they are skilled and educated workforce. And for health or life expectancy, this one has poor or low healthcare. For the rapidly industrializing, it has improving, and for this one, it has high healthcare or long life expectancy. And all of this would contribute to the living standards, where this one is poor living standards, this one is improving living or rising living standards, and this one is high living standards. And all of these points should be added to this one right here, stages of economic development. You can write them notes under here, what I just said on paint. So back to the PowerPoint. Why are countries less developed? So first of all, there are over dependence on agriculture to provide jobs and income. So agriculture is in the primary sector, and they rely too much on that. Second of all, lack of capital to invest in modern infrastructure to support business and communities, and also lack of capital in education and lack of capital in healthcare. So basically they're lacking in capital. Third of all, there are low skilled and poorly educated workforce, as you can link to the previous slide where I've demonstrated on paint. And last of all, they have rapid population growth, and this diagram or cycle flow thingy demonstrates it perfectly. Low income, limited buying power, poor incentives to invest, lack of capital, low productivity, low output, and it would go on and on and on. So basically the UN has the Millennium Development Goals. I don't think you need to know this for the syllabus statements, like all 8 of them, but you might mention some of them when answering some questions. I will make another video on like exam techniques and stuff, since most of you like that. So the UN Millennium Goals includes eradicate extreme poverty and hunger, achieve universal primary education, promote gender equality, reduce child mortality, improve maternal health, combat HIV, AIDS, malaria, and other diseases, ensure environmental sustainability, and develop a global partnership for development. Poverty. This is one of the definitions that you have to remember word by word. There's 2 types of poverty, or 2 measures of poverty, and there are absolute poverty, which is the inability to afford basic necessities such as water, food, education, healthcare, and shelter, measured by the number of people living below a certain income threshold. So basically they're absolute. They have no place to stay, they have they have no education, barely any food. So this is absolute poverty. And relative poverty is having far fewer resources than others in the same society. It's usually measured by the extent to which a person's or household's financial resources fall below the average income level in the economy. So they might still have a house, but it's not that good of a quality. It's below the average. So that is meant by relative poverty. There are different measures of economic development and living standards in different countries, and government measures them by GDP per capita. However, this might not be the best solution, as there might be not a distribution income, not an even distribution of income. Second of all, could be population living on less than $1 a day, and this is poverty. The absolute level of poverty could be measured by life expectancy at birth, adult literacy rate, access to safe water supplies and sanitation, ownership of consumer goods. And consumer goods is meant by like cars, telephones, and computers. For example, like internet users in certain countries. In developed economies, there will be a higher percentage of internet users, but less to the less developed economy. And the proportion of workers in agriculture, as I said earlier, about primary sectors, most of them will work on that, and I'll explain that in population. So there's this thing called Human Poverty Index, and the Human Poverty Index links to the Human Development Index, where in both of them there are the 2 key statistical series combining a number of measures and indicators. So there's HPI 1 and HPI 2. Instead of 3 for a Human Development Index, there's only 2 for Human Poverty Index. We can see the age of 40, age of 60, percentage of people able to read or write, percentage of people unable to read or write, basically same thing. Population income poverty line, population with less than 50%, so you kind of get it. And this is the Human Poverty Index, and countries are compared whether they are HPI 1 or HPI 2. So to reduce international poverty, there are six main reasons, and they are pretty much very logical. First of all is the expansionary fiscal and monetary policy. So fiscal deals with tax rates, and monetary policy deals with interest rates. So basically they lower tax and I don't know why I wrote lot. So they lower tax rates and they lower interest rates, so business can borrow more and more, and they might expand. If they expand, this would create more jobs, and therefore this would reduce unemployment. That's one of the reasons of expansionary. That's how you reduce international poverty. Second of all could be progressive tax. For example, in this case right here, we have learned this in chapter 5, where there will be a reduced income and health inequality, so there's a redistribution of income and health. Third of all could be the provision of welfare benefits and services. This could reduce international poverty, as well as increase minimum wage laws. They could also improve quality and quantity of education. I should have said they improve quality and quantity of education. And last of all is the foreign aid, and this is the main thing that you have to remember. So foreign aid, there are 4 types of foreign aid that are required for you to remember, but not the other 4. First of all is the food aid, which is self-explanatory. Well, they, for example, like USA or the EU produce far more food than they need, and they just give them to less developed countries as food aid. But if too much is provided, it will stop people buying produce. It will stop people from buying the local farmers, causing them to cease production. Products. Yeah, that's food aid. Second of all could be a financial aid or a loan. This is mainly financial aid will be given to developing countries, but however the government could poorly manage the money, as they have no experience. They might not know how to manage it. Also, the government might be really corrupt. Third of all is technological aids, and this is example of this is building modern power plants and providing advanced machinery. However, some training might be needed. Last one is debt relief. So for example, if a country owes some money to another, the highly indebted poor countries HIPC program, let me just write that down. HIPC program, which is the highly indebted poor countries program. This could help. This is a type of foreign aid. However, full or partial cancellation of public debt, basically if they help, they might simply, if the HIPC help the countries that are in debt to like pay off their debt, the countries that just got help, they may simply just borrow more and more money, because they know like the HIPC might pay for them again at a different time, so they might be financially irresponsible. There are 4 different types of extra foreign aid that our class has to learn. I don't know why, but it's good to learn more than one. So bilateral foreign aid, this is aid from one country to another, which links to most of these points, so this is more of a general type of foreign aid. However, a disadvantage of this could be countries receiving aid, they owe the donating country something in return at a later date. So basically it's like the bank, but they owe something in return. Might be money, might be something else. Second type is the multilateral foreign aid, and this is when a country gives the money, some amount of money, to the United Nations, and the United Nations distributes it to every other place. that are less economically developed country. So this is a better version of a financial aid or a loan, as I said previously here, because the UN can manage, and I don't think they are corrupt. The development aid basically given given by governments and other agencies to support the economic, environmental, social, political development of developing countries. This would improve infrastructure and support countries in developing natural resources. Like for example, in 1970s, the world's richest countries agreed to give 0.7% of the gross national income to the official international aid. However, countries may not meet the promised percentage like 0.7%. They might just give 0.5 or much lower instead. And lastly is the humanitarian aid, and this is logistics assistance provided for disasters, for example like the Philippines after the hurricane, or Japan after the earthquake, or Haiti after the earthquake. This would help crisis and reduce suffering. However, there may be corruption and people are not receiving the actual amount. However, another disadvantage is that country is dependent on the aid. So if there is no more aid, they're basically dead. So yeah, over dependent on aid. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll upload 7.2 soon so you guys can get an A star. Thank you for watching, and hope you've enjoyed this video.